All right, so this is a super easy project to do. You can do this project with a piece of furniture that you already own, that you just want to kind of freshen up, or a piece of furniture that you're going to repurpose, repaint, redo, whatever. And it's super easy. A lot of the older furniture that we come across is dirty, like dirty and stained. Like even though you clean it, you can't get the stains out. Like for instance, this here. It's pretty rough looking on the inside, especially, and I hope you can see it, this red spot. Now, obviously something got spilled. Ink from a pen, nail polish, I mean, who knows what in the world it was, but I don't want my client to have to see that every time that they open the drawer on this cabinet. So we are going to line the drawers with pretty paper. And I found some on Amazon from a company called Bella Gift Wrap. And I was really drawn to it because it's a really natural looking craft kind of paper, the prints were. And I went ahead and picked up a package of about 5 or 6 different designs, and they're all the same colors, but the designs are all different. I just really fell in love with it. The paper has a nice heavy consistency, not as heavy as a grocery bag, but just pliable enough that we can use it for this purpose. And I've already started to cut out some of my pieces. For the project that I'm working on, I need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drawers covered, and I've got one up here. So to work off of a roll of paper, it's best, well, what am I saying? Let's start with supplies, right? So you need the paper. You need Mod Podge, and I have the Mod Podge matte. They also have Mod Podge made specifically for paper, but I use this one and I don't have any problem. You need scissors, obviously, a chip brush. Mine is a 1.5 inch. You need an X-Acto knife. And then I have this little tool called a boning knife. It's like a bamboo, and you can get a nice flat edge, or you could just use a credit card. You can do that as well. So I've got all my supplies out. To start off, like I was saying, from a roll, it would be kind of hard to just, maneuver it all in there. So we're gonna rough cut this, this piece of paper to fit this. So what I've done is I've laid out the wrapping paper, and I've got the drawer laid down, and I'm gonna do the interior of it, obviously, and I wanna have some extra all the way around. And I'm just going to cut a rough perimeter all the way around this drawer. Now you notice, I know you can't see that, but I'm cutting paper. It's no big deal. I've cut about a 1 inch all the way around. I want to allow plenty of extra. I don't want to cut myself short. And I'm just going to, this is basically just getting off the excess and kind of out of my way, which is great. So then the next step is that I want to have a nice flat edge, a nice square edge on one of the edges here. So what I can do, whoops, that's rolled under there. Okay. All right, so I've got the back of the drawer lined up with the flat edge of the paper. And I know that that's squared. So I can hold my drawer nice and steady and then use my finger to fold up and get a nice hard crease there. Okay, so I can see right where to fold it. That kind of got that line started for me. And I can fold that down, and I can use my bone folder. Where'd you go? Here it is. Or your credit card, and just run it along that seam so it's nice and flat, like that. Now on some paper, you would be able to tear this. This paper's a little heavy, and I did try to tear it, and it's not tearing very well, so I'm not going to risk a messy edge by tearing it. Instead, I'm going to cut it out with scissors carefully. I want this edge to look pretty good, so I'm going to be fairly careful along that line to give myself a nice clean edge. This will save a step once I get the paper into the drawer, into the interior of the drawer. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. That's trash. All right, so I have a nice clean edge on the long side. The short side already has a clean edge, right? Because it came off the roll like that. So when I put it in the drawer, right side up, I've got a clean edge at the back of the drawer and the clean edge that I just cut right there. And I can fit it up there pretty good. There we go. And then I only have to cut these 2 edges, and I've already got those edges cut, and it's just easier to cut the paper when it's outside of the drawer. So at this point, I'm going to make sure that that cut edge is all the way up to the side and all the way to the back. I want to make sure that it's in there. Really good. That looks really nice. Then on the other side, let me turn this around. While I'm holding that steady, and you do have to kind of mess with it because it's rolled up wrapping paper and it wants to roll up again, is I can just use my fingers to go right up into the crease of where that drawer side meets the drawer bottom. And I'm just kind of doing this rough right now. So I've got one side all the way. Make sure it's all laying in there really nice. Yeah. And then I can use my bone folder or your credit card, and you can go right along the edge of that. Let's see if I can do this here up in the air. I'm using that bone folder or the credit card to go right into that crease and give myself a nice crease line. I have to lay it down to do the whole thing. And I'm going to give myself a nice crease there. It's just a good idea to get this started before you cut. Now I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to cut it. If you're uncomfortable with that, you can do the crease and take the paper out and cut it with your scissor if you want to, if you'd rather do it that way. That works perfectly well. I've certainly done that. There we go. Get that in there really good. I want to make sure it's all the way up to that edge. That's just going to give me a nice, final, clean cut. All right. And my X-Acto knife, make sure that blade is nice and tight. If the blade is dull, this is going to be hard to do, so you might have to change your blade depending on how often you use your X-Acto knife. I use mine a lot, and I'm just running that blade, and I'm going to pick this up and show you when I get to this point. Here we go. I'm just running that blade right along that crease. Now when I'm going towards me, it's a little smoother, so let me put that down and be safe with this. These blades are really sharp. And I've certainly cut myself before, so you want to be very careful with it. Keep it out of reach of children's hands. This is not a child's project by any means. Okay, I missed a little spot. I'll go back and get that. You can see how nice that comes out. And then that frees me up to do the back. So again, I'm pushing it in as much as I can with my fingertips, and then I'm using my boning tool to press it in, or you can use your credit card to press it in. That gives me an additional crease so that I know that I'm right in there. And the whole time that I've done this, I've checked all the other edges to make sure that that paper didn't scoot around on me. And again, I'm using the X-Acto knife, running right along that back edge, right where I made that crease. Be really careful in the corner. If you feel the need to go back and press into that corner a little bit more, you don't want to rip it. You want it to look nice and neat and clean. I'm kind of picky about this kind of thing, to tell you the truth. All right, cutting it right in the corner. I'm not able to get right in there, so what you can do, what I'm going to do is pull that up just a little bit, and I can use my scissor, and the lines are already there, and I can just snip it out. And you can tell here I got a nice clean cut. And the inside of that is nice and straight. That looks really good. I love this paper in here. It looks so amazing. It's going to make my client happy. So then the next step is the Mod Podge. And I'm going to start from the front to the back so that if I have to cut off excess, it'll be at the back of the drawer, which is less likely to be seen than it would be on the front. I'm going to pull a little bit of this paper up. I'm not going to remove it all. There's no need to. About half of it. If you feel better putting something weighted on there, in fact I have a kitchen knife, I'm going to lay it on there just to help me hold it down and steady. I'm going to pull the paper back and I'm going to get my Mod Podge out. Well, I say that. Should have loosened up that lid, huh? Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go. Love this stuff. I love a Mod Podge project. It cleans up so easily, and yeah, I'm working on granite, and I'm not too scared about it, to be perfectly honest, because it really does clean up well. Okay, so I grab my chip brush, and I'm going to paint the Mod Podge on to the bottom only of the drawer. I'm not going to let my brush get up on the side of that drawer, and I'm being kind of careful, and I'm also putting it on kind of thin. So I've started in the middle here. You can probably figure out what I'm going to do. And I'm going to only go here in the middle, and then I'm going to lay the paper down. If you go too thick with Mod Podge, your paper can buckle. So if you don't mind that look, and honestly, I don't mind that look, because for me, that's a handmade look, and I love handmade things. But if you're picky about it, just keep the layer of Mod Podge pretty thin. So I'm just painting right up to that edge, you know, right where we put the, right where we cut it. So we're going right to that edge. And I've got a nice even coat on. You can see there, I'm going right up to that edge. Then I can lay this part of the paper down. Smooth it out with my fingers everywhere that I just applied the Mod Podge. And on the edges, I can use that. So now I've got the box, the drawer, a little closer. You can see here what I'm doing. Getting some Mod Podge on my brush and getting real close. You can see that. I can use the edge of my brush to kind of scooch some of the Mod Podge up into that corner, up into that edge. And I'm going to spread it out nice and thin. One of the things that the advantage of using a chip brush is that the bristles on the edge are thin. And I like that because number one, it helps to put on a thin coat of the Mod Podge, but also I can take that brush and get, let's see, can I show you that? That's a little awkward, but can you see that? How I'm able to get that brush right up in there to the edge. And that's because this part here of the brush is so thin. And if you don't feel like cleaning the Mod Podge off, you can just toss away the brush when you're finished. Now, honestly, I get several uses out of these brushes. Of course, I don't like to waste stuff. And it's easy cleanup, hot soapy water, let it dry, and use it for Mod Podge the next time. You can label the brush on the handle that it's for Mod Podge only, and that might be helpful as well. All right, so I've got that whole surface covered, making sure I've got it all covered. There we go. And then I'm just going to lay that paper right on. Let's see here. Smooth it out. Anywhere there's a wrinkle, just be sure to press it down. You can see a little bit of this is wrinkling up now. As it dries, it will flatten out. I've done this a lot with book pages, and book pages are really thin, and they always do really well in this with lining a drawer. I love that look. I'm just using my finger to really smooth it out. I would say to be careful and not use the straight edge like the credit card, because it could tear the paper. Your finger is soft and it's not going to tear. But I'm just working out all the wrinkles, and I am going to use that boning tool up towards the edge. You can see here. Up towards the edge. I'm not left-handed, but I'm going to try to show you this. Like that. And I have a little bit of excess that I will go back and cut once it's all the way dry. Oops. So see the wrinkling happening there? Just smooth it out. Yep, just smooth it out. And most of that is going to come out when it's dry. Now, one thing about Mod Podge and doing this kind of project, you have to work quick and in small sections, because Mod Podge will dry quickly, and then it loses its stickiness. It's no longer sticky. So, use my tool and go around that edge really nice. All right, that looks good. That looks really good. I'm going to get over to the other side of the drawer, and we're going to work on that side. All right, I'm right-handed. Maybe this side will work a little bit better. So remember, this is the first edge. It's not glued down, so we're going to pull it back just to where it was stuck. And in small sections, I'm going to paint on the Mod Podge. See here? See what I mean? That little skinny part of the brush goes right up into that corner, right up into that edge. Go all the way down that edge where it meets up from when we first started putting it on. And then the same down here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there we go. Getting that right in there, see? And then paint it on the rest of it. I'm going to go ahead really quickly and put on this last section of Mod Podge. So I'm gonna go pretty quick here. Okay. And I'm moving quickly here as well. Get that paper lying down. There we go. Yeah, that's looking so good. Oh, I love it. Boy, it just cleans up the interior of that drawer in no time. Oh, I got a little Mod Podge here on the edge. Make sure I get that wiped off. I can get a paper towel and wipe that off as well. Use my boning tool to go in there to the corners, to the edges. Work out all the bubbles that I can. And you're not going to get them all out. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to get out most of them. As it dries, it flattens even more. Boy, that looks so good. Okay, so when I'm all done with all of the drawers, I'll get my polycoat, my polyacrylic out, my Minwax polyacrylic, and I'll go over this whole thing with at least one coat, possibly two coats, to seal and protect the interior of this drawer. And that looks a whole lot better than it did, doesn't it?